The Voyage of the Pacific Swift. In 1988, 50 young British Columbians signed up with Salts to sail aboard a traditional 18th century topsail schooner on a voyage of discovery to Australia and through the South Pacific. This story chronicles the first leg of that voyage, from Victoria to Hawaii, with words extracted from the ship's log by Captain Martin Clark and letters home by 19-year-old trainee Trevor Harmel of Vancouver. The Pacific Swift was built of West Coast woods as a major exhibit at Expo 86 in Vancouver by the Salts Sail and Life Training Society. A crowd of over 30,000 people, the largest ever to see a ship launched in the history of Canadian shipbuilding, watched as she slipped into the waters of False Creek on October the 11th, 1986. 2 years later to the day, the Swift sailed up the Brisbane River as an official representative of Canada to Australia's Expo 88. Salts is a non-profit, non-denominational Christian society that believes that building, living aboard, and sailing traditional vessels is an excellent way for young people to mature spiritually as well as mentally and physically. As Dr. Wallace Eggert, chairman of Salts, has said, the experience of having to take responsibility as a vital crew member on an old-fashioned sailing vessel, regardless of the hour or weather, can begin to shape qualities of courage, cooperation, good sense, self-confidence, and personal discipline. Modern young men and women are as capable of developing these values as their parents and grandparents. Most of them are simply longing for the opportunity. Or, in the words of Commander Jim Gracie of Her Majesty's Canadian ship Oriole, the sea imparts many lessons. One learns respect for one's fellow men and for the elements. One is tested and stretched, often to the limits of endurance. One meets and learns to overcome fear. Sail training is the most effective character-building experience for youth available anywhere. Admiral Michael Martin, chairman of the Canadian Sail Training Association, spoke at the commissioning ceremony in Victoria's Inner Harbour prior to the departure of the Swift.
I'm here to officially welcome this fine vessel, a very historic replica, into the ranks of Canada's sail training vessels. Sail training for young people is a one ship, one hand for yourself, and one hand for your ship. God bless you.
Martin Clark, skipper of the Swift and executive director of Salts, challenged the young trainees and everyone present with a quote from The Wind in the Willows.
We shall break out the jib and foresail. The white houses of the harbour side will glide slowly past as she gathers steering way, and the voyage will have begun. As she forwages towards the headland, she will clothe herself with canvas, and then once outside, sounding slap of great green seas as she heels to the wind pointing south. And you will come too, young brothers and sisters. For the days pass and never return, and the south waits for you. Take the adventure, heed the call, now ere the irrevocable moment passes. Thank you.
Off the Oregon coast, winds built up to 30 knots, giving the young trainees, freshly recovered from early bouts of queasiness, the first real experience of the exuberance of open ocean sailing. The biggest waves were greeted with shouts of delight from all on deck. A whale was spotted, showering the boat with spray from his spout and playing around the boat for over half an hour.
July 6-7. We were admiring the big 15-foot swells when a whale surfaced off our starboard bow. Dwarfing our boat, it followed for over half an hour, so close that we could feel the spray on our faces as it spouted. We're finally experiencing what I expected the ocean to be like, with big waves looming over the stern and lifting the bowsprit high into the air. It's wild sleeping below. I don't know how many times I woke up during the night. Overexcitement, heavy anti-seasickness medicine, and constant rocking makes for a lot of sprawled, sleeping figures all over the boat. At one point this afternoon, everyone except the helmsman was asleep. July 9th. Mug-up was a time for everyone on board to relax, sing songs, and listen to stories of the sea. The first mug-up after a week at sea with all hands clustered around the helmsman in the cockpit was electric. A great time of hearty singing with no one to hear us but the waves and the gathering darkness. We were on an island of joy, alone, yet not alone.
The topsail yards, which had been lowered the first day out from Victoria in anticipation of heavy weather, were raised again in calmer conditions 500 miles off the Mexican coast. The ocean swell still made it a tricky operation, which had to be undertaken with a great deal of care and forethought.
July 13th, 14th. Helped raise the upper topsail yard. Climbed aloft with Chris for the first time. Even the most imperceptible movement below is several feet of movement above. Slept under the sail for 4 hours. Everyone working aloft for an extended period would usually return to the relative stability of the deck, totally exhausted, collapsing into a deep sleep wherever they landed.
Hey, belay the halyard there. Okay, take it back on the break the frame. Lines and butt lines loosely on the front.
After reaching the stop, all hands except for Wolfie and the skipper, the blue Pacific Ocean for a swim. 800 miles from the USA, 1,200 miles from Hawaii. July 22nd, 23rd. Offshore sailing is a timeless existence. Each day blends into the next, the same or different. I feel like I've been sailing for years or for a few days. One begins to get a glimpse of the meaning of eternity. I've never had such a great time working before. Even the simplest task is a bore. Throw the first set of square six aloft. There isn't a more precarious position on the whole boat than on the foot rope of the upper topsail yard. Steve Kilker, Chris McGowan and I cut the yard with one arm and grabbed the hanging sail with the other, our bellies holding the sail down and our legs splayed behind us like wishbones, taut and shaking.
Ready on the halyard. Go, clear aloft. Okay, hold on.
Call those bangs. Yeah. Sure. Okay, Kimball.
Good time to get to it. But Bill, how come you're moving it with the...
Hey, Stevie! Wave!
Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endureth forever.
Everyone singing lesser than
To the
In the days to follow, we would be saying a tearful goodbye to some shipmates returning home to Canada and welcoming new friends and prospective shipmates aboard for the next legs to Samoa and Australia. A year from now, the ship itself will be returning to Canada, and all of us will have a new story to share of sailing the great Southern Ocean, exotic islands, and new friends.